Welcome to the vlog, everybody. I'm coming to you from the garage today. My previous run of vlogs, I did 100 vlogs where in November my plan was to create this space into a studio. Desk is here, some computer gear is here, all that kind of stuff. It does function, but the problem is it doesn't have any walls around it yet. So that part of it's still to come. On today's vlog though, I want to try something a little bit different. So for some of you who are used to my normal vlogs, this is going to be different. The whole point of this journey, the whole point of doing daily vlogs is to learn something new and try new things and all that kind of fun stuff. Today, I've been wanting to learn this skill for a while, so I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to do my very first tutorial. I've been receiving quite a few comments and even DMs and everything else about how do I do my thumbnails, and the process is really simple. That's why I figure I can answer your question by showing you how I do my thumbnails, and I can also learn how to do, I've never done a screen share before or anything like that. I've watched plenty of tutorials though, and I'm going to try to make it as precise and easy to follow as possible. I'm going to take a quick sip of coffee here and then we'll get to it. Cheers, Marie. I have everything pulled up on my computer here, so let's get to it. Should have said this earlier, but everything I'm doing in this tutorial is going to be in the Adobe suite. So I'm going to be using Adobe Premiere, and I'm also going to be using Adobe Lightroom. Your software might be a little different, but the settings and everything else for the most part are pretty much the same. So you can get the same results using other software as well. For me personally though, I use Adobe for everything. The first thing I do is I open up my vlog that I'm working on in Premiere Pro, and I start to scrub through the footage a little bit. And I look for anything that kind of stands out when it catches my eye. Now, even though a drone shot like this can be really cool, it doesn't really have a character or anything crazy that stands out. So even though it'd be a beautiful picture, it doesn't have the color or the pop or anything eye-grabbing that I want to bring into the thumbnail. As I kept scrubbing through, the one thing that stood out to me was my daughter Natalie's pink coat. Found a part in the vlog where she was snapping a picture. I liked the way the pink coat looked with the sand in the background, and it just, the contrast there was really nice. And then even if you look up in the sky, you can even see a little bit of color up there. Now the way it currently looks right now, it looks a little washed out in the sky. You can just see some orange, barely some blue. That will all change once we bring it into Adobe Lightroom. I frame it up and I make sure that it's part of the video that is completely in focus. I don't like anything that's blurry. I try to avoid anything that's blurry. This one looks really good. Natalie looks clear. It's got a nice bokeh in the background. I'm gonna be able to pull out that color of the sky. I'm gonna use this as the thumbnail. Now in this particular vlog, all the footage, everything, it was pretty much the same color because we were out at the beach, we were at the same location. I put a light color grade on it, but for the thumbnail, I always take the color grade off. So I turn the color grade off, I turn my logo off, and then Adobe Premiere has this really cool feature called Export Frame. It's basically just taking a snapshot of your video and making it into a picture. I save that photo into my vlog folder, and then I get out of Adobe Premiere. Now here's the original photo right here. I've got the picture loaded up now, and one thing I like to do with my thumbnails, I like really sharp lines, I like big color, and I like that depth. What we're gonna do, how we're gonna edit this would be terrible if you're actually editing it for a print or something like that. But for a smaller application like a thumbnail, it'll stand out. First thing I do when I get into Adobe Lightroom is I increase the contrast to 100. Then I go down and I increase the clarity up to 100. Then I go down further and I sharpen it all the way to 150. You can already see the difference in the sand and in just the depth with the shadows and everything else. You just see a lot more detail already. Then I go back up, and now I want to get that sky. I want to get the colors in that sky to pop. I want the sand color to pop, I want the sky to pop, and I want Natalie's jacket to pop. Since that sky is a little bit washed out, I'm going to start taking down some of the settings on the right, like highlights and shadows and the whites, all that kind of stuff. You can start to see the color of the sky coming through. When it comes to color temperature, I do a very, very subtle change. I don't usually go beyond -10. If you start punching it beyond that, it starts to look like a nuclear wasteland or something. After I get the color temp settled, I want to start to really pull out those colors. So I put the vibrance up to 100, and sometimes it looks good when it's at 100, sometimes it looks overblown. Just depends on the thumbnail, depends on the color in the photo. I usually start at 100 and then back it off from there. After I get the saturation set, I like to go down and dehaze it a little bit, put a little vignetting on there to just kind of frame in Natalie. I want everybody's eye to be drawn to her. And then this is where the magic happens. So you can kind of see in the sky and everything else, it's kind of digitized, it looks pixelated, it doesn't look very smooth or anything. I come down here to the noise reduction and the color noise reduction. Color noise reduction goes all the way up, and you can already see the sky starting to smooth out a little bit. And then I go up to the noise reduction, and I don't increase it all the way. I just try to get it to a point where it looks smooth, but not like a comic book. At this point, it looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. But I'm gonna play around with the shadows and the exposure a little bit because I want it to be slightly brighter. That's pretty much it. It's almost done. If you look at the original where we started and the finished product, it's a huge difference. This process normally takes me about 2 minutes to finish up. So since I do it every day, I kind of know what I look for. It's the same process almost every day. I practice it, I can do all those sliders and everything in a few minutes and I'm done. It really doesn't take as long as this video is. After I finish up in Adobe Lightroom, I save my photo and I open up my browser and I go to canva.com. I'll put a link in the description below. The cool thing about Canva is you can open up a free account and you can choose templates if you want. YouTube cover art, if you're doing thumbnails, whatever. I only use it for thumbnails. Canva is a huge time saver because once I save the image off of Canva, I know it's gonna be the right size and everything for a YouTube thumbnail. All I do is I pull up canva.com, I click upload. They have text and backgrounds and all kinds of stuff you can do. Click upload, I upload the image, which you can already see, it's in my pile of thumbnails right there. I bring it in, I fill the box, I save it, and then it's ready to go. One little thing I've come across with Canva, and it's probably only happened on 2 thumbnails I think, after I've saved it, the file size has been more than 2 megabytes. And on YouTube, your thumbnail needs to be 2 megabytes at the maximum. But 99.6375% of the time, it works perfectly. I have no real data on that, I just made that percentage up, by the way. That is it though, that's how simple it is to make my thumbnails. It's nothing crazy, it's nothing, I don't spend hours on it or anything like that. The key is just to get that color to pop and get that detail in there. The sharper you get that little image, the more it's gonna pop, the more it'll draw people's eyes, and at least that's my thought process on the whole thing. I'm still learning like crazy, so if you have any suggestions or things you do in your thumbnails or whatever, I would love to hear about them in the comments. Put them in the comments, let me know what you do. If you saw something in the tutorial that you would have changed or done differently, let me know as well. I always love hearing new things and discovering new things, and the comments are a great place for that. I almost forgot today's takeaway, but today's takeaway is definitely this. Don't be afraid to dive in and learn something new. Educate yourself and then take action. People have asked me to do tutorials before, and now I feel comfortable doing one because I just took action. I just made this one. That's it for the vlog today though. I hope you enjoyed this. If you're not into tutorials and stuff, I apologize. I'll do a regular vlog tomorrow, but that's what this journey is about, is trying something new, bringing value every day, and the only way I can do that is if I keep learning. Thank you so much for watching everybody, and I'll see you tomorrow.